Kiki, you worked on some major Pixar animations. Would you say that this is your dream job?
Yeah, I think so. Because I've been like watching like Toy Story when I was in Malaysia, and I just love animation, and I'm very glad that I have a chance to work in a company like Pixar.
Now, Kiki, how long does it take for you to shade and groom just one character?
It depends. Like it depends on the budget of the character. If it's a main character, that we tend to spend couple months to work on it because the main character will be seen on the screen for a long time. So we want to pay every single details about, how's their eyebrow looks like and is their eye looks good and all the freckles and all the details. So main character tends to take really long time to do it because director and art director like to look at them. But if it's for like a background character, is like very like much like couple weeks.
Can you help explain a little bit more about what a shading and grooming artist actually does? Because I've got no idea. Do
Yeah.
you, JD?
No, not really. No.
Yeah, sure. So I'm on the character team. So my job is imagine anything you see on the character. Then I will do the skin side shadings, like skin textures, including the clothing there, the garments, and then they're wearing. And so that's basically shading skin, garments, or everything head to toes. And then grooming is basically like creating hair like to the characters, and that like including animals fur. So I kind of doing like two jobs because I love painting and I like to sculpting hair. And it's really fun to be able to work on the whole character, like head to toe. I can sculpt her hair, but I cannot do my own hair very well.
Okay, so let's talk about like qualifications and stuff. Like, is there an actual like shading and grooming qualification?
So I started like studying like animation, computer animation when I was in college. So I went to Taiwan to study university there, and then my major is called applied art. But then inside my school, there's different groups, so we can specialize studying animation. But basically, we learn everything at school, not just computer, animation. We learn the basic drawing and sketch and paintings. But that was a good foundation to do learning for animations. But for animation, we kind of learn overall a little bit here and there, like kind of like starting from, design your character or design a props, and then you model them in 3D, and then you put some shading and you learn how to do lighting or make it move, so that's kind of like a whole long process. And then usually it's really, each part is like a, like it has its like own like very specific role. But then people tend to be pick one or two of them that do, just like me, like shadings or like grooming, that to be more specific. But then in general, like it depends on the company you're at. Like you can be like more broadly as your skill, then you call it a generous like 3D artist, or you can be a specialized like on one field, then you'll be like me, like it's like a shading and grooming.
Out of all the characters you've worked with, which one was the most memorable and why?
Character wise, I think for me is probably the Riley baby in from the Inside Out, because it was considered a very important job for me, because like it was the opening scenes. When you see the movie, the baby was the first image that you saw, you will see in the movie. So I was very like happy to be able to do something like that, and then it was so fun to be able to I think that's probably one of my very first like groom on the human, even though baby doesn't have too much hair. But then like it's just really fun to work on the details, like, and make sure the baby doesn't look scary and still look like a baby that you want to hold. So I think that's like one of the very important character and like brought me a lot of memory.
Now we understand that growing up, you've had a pretty tough life. Can you tell us a little bit about young Kiki growing up in JB?
Um, so I think growing up, like we live in like a very small like flat house. Basically, you know, it's six of us. It's me and my three other siblings, and we live in a very small flat house, which is like maybe consider like a one bedroom apartment. So we don't have a lot of space. And but I remember very clearly that like even though we have very limited like you know resources or things that we can buy, but one thing that I was remember very clear is I really love animation. So every day in the morning that when my mom brought the newspaper, I just look it up for like, oh, what is the cartoon? You know, the cartoon is gonna be on TV today, and I'll mark them up and make sure I get to see them all. So I start to love drawing. Like I just use whatever I have, pencil, whatever, just do the stuff that I can. So I just got into that kind of like habit that I love art and I love paint. So yeah.
Now let's talk about the animation industry, right? Because I don't know much about it, but
Mm.
is it a tough industry to be in?
I would say yes and no. It depends on um it might be a little bit hard like when you doesn't know enough people and like if you just started, you know. So the important thing I feel like is like learning about what is the companies that you know animation companies that where you at, and trying to see if you can find somebody that who you know and be able to talk to them about it. um when you say tough, like can you be more specific about, you mean like it's hard to get a job or like, or
Competitive or
yeah.
um, a lot of stress?
Yeah, I understand that like especially stress is depends on the company as well, and depends on what the company production is working, because company tend like ours or like the company making like a TV series that tend to have a little bit more steady schedule. But I work in company like the commercial company where the schedule is always tight and you always need to work overtime.
Mm.
And there's good thing and bad thing. So the good thing is that when you work on a very tight schedule company like making TV commercial, and you learn how to solve problem really quick, and you like always be able find the most creative way to solve the problem, but at the same time the stress level is really high. And at the same time, like if you change it to a company like more steady with a well planned like schedules, not as tight as the commercial, then you get a little bit more relaxed pace to ease yourself. So they all have good things on each side.
Right. So if you were to be able to say, can you give us a list of some of the qualities a person must have in order to be an animator at the world's top animation studio?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it takes practice. So I think the good thing is like drawing and practice animations. Like if you take time to practice, it can get you to where you want to be. It just all take times, and also I think like especially in animation, like I described early on, that probably has a lot of process that you need to learn in order to get the final image. So the early on process might easy to um like kind of make people like you people some people might get a lot disappointed because you know you might need to take a long time for you in order to see the end result. But then I will say that if you are you know have a high passions and very interested, yeah, practice take time, and you like one
Mm.
day you can get to what you want.
All right, classic question that we always have to ask, right? How often do you come back to Malaysia? And also, what do you miss most about Malaysia when you're abroad?
I try to come home once a year, but it's a little bit hard ever since I have a baby. And And then so I've been home for once every year at least. I was really hoping to go home this year, but don't think with the pandemic, I don't know when can we ever travel. What do I miss the most is families, like all my families, friends. It's in JB and some in Singapore. I miss them a lot. And the second thing I miss is totally like is the food. My morning Malaysia breakfast is still like, roti canai and nasi lemak.
Now, what advice would you give to young Malaysians who are looking to pursue a career in the world of animation?
I would say just don't be afraid to try new things. And also at the beginning there will be it's okay to make a lot of mistakes, because the mistake help you grow and then you learn from the process. Just don't seek for the perfection at the very beginning. If you just get into this animation field, just make more progress, because like I say, you all take times to practice and get familiar with things. And on the other hand, I will suggest be more open and explore more, like meanings so that you get inspired more by many different kind of things. So then it will help you create more either on stories, or find something that will inspire you and keep that as daily practice.
So, what are you working now on at Pixar? What can we look forward to
Yeah.
actually seeing? Yeah. What's next?
I can tell you the name because it's been announced. It's called Luca. Luca. Luca is the name of the characters, and you can look out for the poster online. And the good news is the Luca trailer is coming soon, so like look out for it.